Isn't it great when you sign up for that one class that you really want to take from that one professor and you admire him or her more than anyone else on campus? And you can't wait to sit in that classroom every week, twice or three times, soaking up the wisdom and knowledge of God and life that this man or woman will bring into your very life. And then you realize, oh yeah, CIU fired them. And now I have to deal with whatever replacement they throw at me. Welcome to Bursting the Bubble, a brand new podcast. I'm Michael Lanier.
And I'm Josh Chapman.
And we're your hosts. For this podcast, we are coming to you from the campus of Columbia International University in Columbia, South Carolina. We are going to aim on this podcast to talk about issues concerning the school, concerning Christian life, and sometimes just concerning life in general. We hope you enjoy as we try to put out an episode about every week. Let me explain some context for the show real quick. Keep in mind as you listen that we are doing this because we really love CIU. We love the school. We want to see it grow in a positive way. And the best way to do that is to, number one, identify problems that might or might not exist. And number two, do our best to work towards a solution with those problems. And the way we're doing that right this second is by starting a conversation with you, the listeners. We don't hate CIU, we love it. And when you love something or someone, you want to see them grow in a positive way. And sometimes that means pointing out some of the not so positive things in order to work towards that goal of growth. Also, keep in mind that whatever we say about anybody or anything is not necessarily true unless we specifically say so. We are only saying our opinions and what we believe to be true. It's not proven to be true unless we specifically say that we know it's true. So please don't think that every opinion of ours is fact. It's only what we believe to be true and our opinions. Also, if you want to get involved with the show, we would love to have people on the show, and we'll let you know how to do that at the end of the episode. All right, welcome to 2017. We're recording outside today. Those are the noises you're hearing around, is the noises of nature. We thought it was a good idea to record outside.
I mean, why not?
But the issues we're going to be talking about do not take place outside for the most part. At least not today. They're taking place in the classroom. And I think you have more info on that than I do about some of the professors chosen to replace those who were let go last year. For those of you who aren't familiar, over the summer last year, summer of 2016, CIU had to let go of 5 professors due to financial problems, and without going into detail about what it was like or who they were, or, whatever, they had to give new professors to the classes. Yes. And you're in one of them.
Yes. I feel like this is less about the professors, replace or who replaced them. It's more about you could have registered for a class, as I did, to take with a specific professor whom you had heard good things about, and you had some options in front of you whether or not to take from this particular professor, to wait for a later semester for the same class that's a requirement to be offered by a different professor if you preferred one over the other. But you made that educated decision prior to the laying off of professors, and then the replacement found you're just stuck with him whether or not you like him or his teaching style.
Right.
And I personally, that's kind of unfair because the students didn't really get a say in it. I get if it had to be done, but the first thing is, I would say that is concerning to me is that the area of finances at the school seem to be kind of murky. Like we don't really,
Right.
No, that's behind a curtain. We don't really talk about what goes on behind that curtain.
That is very true.
Just trust us. We're in control. And, at face value, I'd want to believe that. But,
The thing is, I understand, the professors, the financial stuff. They had to let go of several professors, several staff members, and they said it was because of finances. That was in the big email that got sent out over the summer. But then, as I wasn't here during much of the summer, I was here when the laying off happened, but I wasn't at CIU after May. But there were some people on our hall who were here, and they kept texting me and saying, hey, CIU just got new light-up signs on the road, brand new signs both sides of the road. They light up. Hey, they're repainting Pineview Apartments, doesn't really need it, but they're doing it. Hey, we just booked David Crider for Homecoming. And, like, I get that there's different channels of finances, and when it goes to a certain point, you can't just go over there and draw it out for something else. But can't you control how much goes into which channel to begin with?
Yes. I mean, I've heard much the same argument from certain people saying that, well, what you have to understand is the allocation of funds is different, and different departments are given certain amounts, and they're not in control of that. You know, I get that. Like, when we have, you know, the new hall system with houses, and when we have as a reward for that, a whole house going to Outback. Yeah, I get that, like, that's Res Life just using the money that, or Student Life, or whoever it was, using the money that's already been allocated to them, using it as they best see fit. And I don't criticize them at all for that. I mean, that's their job to do things like that. That's a very Res Life thing to do. What I am criticizing is that there's obviously, as in any institution, a hierarchy of management, and at some point in that hierarchy of management, there's got to be somebody deciding who gets what, and also sort of auditing how they use that money. Right. So,
and the only reason why we'd still be talking about this in the spring of 2017, when this happened in the summer of 2016, is because the consequences, the results are still ongoing. There's still classes with new professors who are kind of like unsure of what the class was like before. They don't have all of the old professors' materials, so it's kind of like a mishmash, and the students are like, what is going on?
And to their credit, I feel like they're doing the best they can, or that they know how to do. Many of these professors are just, you know, they fit a previous role, and that's the only role they knew how to fit, so they're going at it from that perspective in these new classes when the students are kind of like, this doesn't feel right, this isn't what I'm used to. So there's obviously an issue here, but it seems like they're largely ignoring it, and I would rather change focus at this point kind of to say that I feel like it's less about the professors, simply because one of two things is going on here. Either they're not aware of it, CIU isn't, or they're ignoring it. And I feel like it's more the latter. Rewinding a bit here, but when we go back to when all of this first happened, the email sent out, and this is largely my main concern here concerning the finances, again, is that it seems to be this just kind of gray area that they're not really revealing on. They're kind of secretive. And I'm not saying, like, expose everything. I get it. You're not going to do that. But some transparency is needed. And personally, I take issue with the fact that they tried to conceal some information, and that they managed the transition between the old professors and the new very poorly. Personally, I remember receiving the email about the layoffs. What I'm saying here is that, in essence, though, I don't want to be insulted. I don't want to be condescended to where it's like you can't see what's going on. The average person can tell that that's just a bit of a kind of preface and a distraction. And I'm not saying, like, we all do that, but it is what it is. So just get to the point. And eventually he does that, and he tells us about the laying off, and about, you know, that it's a difficult decision, and that prayerful consideration is put into it, and I'm sure there was, but what gets me is, there's a need for transparency here, and you haven't told me who got laid off.
Actually, they didn't tell the professors either until the day of.
Wow.
So a lot of people didn't even believe that there was prayerful consideration, and I found out later, like, they really did think about this, they really did but they didn't tell anyone. And actually, one of the professors who got laid off, I was here for summer school in May, and I had lunch with him like 2 days before this happened, and he was like, oh yeah, we're just going to go in, renew our contracts, no big deal. It's just the annual renewed contract. So he did not see it coming
all of that to say that this seems to be a bit of a sudden decision, even though they say, you know, prayer and consideration, and I want to take them at face value on that and believe them. But it does seem like this was just kind of hastily done, and they've essentially tried to sweep some of it under the rug. But they obviously had to let us know. But what's the point of telling us that professors have been laid off and then not telling us who? And here's why that's so crucial. We might have had some of their classes.
Right, and we might
need to know what's
to change.
Well, that, and we need to know what's going to happen now. For instance, there were certain classes that maybe there was only one professor teaching them in the first place. I don't even have the option of finding a new one. I'm just completely at your mercy to find me a new professor. And in my experience, there's two problems that I occurred. The first being I don't know who this guy is, so I have no idea how to contact the new professor, find out what his expectations are, the syllabus, what books to buy. But secondly, the fact that CIU did not tell anything about that. They completely ignored that process. No email sent from the registrar's office saying, you were registered for this course that no longer has a professor. We just wanted to make you aware of it and that we're working with you in the transition process. We'll let you know when the new one is been found, and we'll get him to get in contact with you about the changes made to the class. None of that. So I end up, having to find the syllabus a few weeks before class.
The whole thing about, maybe you wouldn't have taken the class if you had realized who was teaching it. Maybe there was no backup for it. And that happened with at least 2 classes, and one of them came a little bit later. But it's been realized since then that there have been 2 cases in which the backup professor for a certain class was let go in the summer. And then the actual professor teaching the class left the school, and they laid off the backup. And it's like, you're really leaving this program with one professor?
You can't, just assume such situations will never happen. As happened, recently. And the thing nobody saw that coming, and you've got to have a contingency plan for such things.
Yeah, and even now, there's still programs that only have one professor. There's still entire majors.
And I want to add here, I get we're a small school, so I get that, okay, we're not going to have a backup professor for everything, but unless they should have had a backup plan, and I'm more they should have calculated the hole they were digging themselves into before they did it. And again, it just seems like with these layoffs, they were very hastily made decisions. And my biggest concern, again, I want to try to keep focused on this point, is what's going on behind the scenes that we just don't know about, because we hear from them. I mean, they do, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think they do every year a financial aid chapel where they talk to us about all these wonderful scholarships and donations that they're getting for us for new scholarships. And yet, I'm sorry if it's just me, but I'm not seeing this just, cash flow from heaven falling down. Like, my bill just keeps going up.
Wait, are you telling me you're actually, paying for tuition? You're still doing that? You're
Sorry,
not covered
didn't
100%
win.
in scholarships like me and everyone else.
Sorry, I didn't win the McQuirkin scholarship. Sorry, but yeah, I want to believe that you're telling us the truth here, and maybe there are new scholarships and they're just not for people like me. But you can say that all day long, that we're on great financial footing, we're growing, but then when this surprise comes out of nowhere, nobody saw it coming, it's just bam, here it is. We're in trouble, we're laying off professors to counterbalance it. I feel like there's some unspoken things here that are just not being communicated, and again, I call for I stress the need for transparency. That chime in here, Michael, and help me out if you disagree with this, but I feel like administration is aware and actively talking about the fact that they don't have a great relationship with the student body.
Okay, yes. So I don't know if I should say that. I will.
Well, if that's true, what I'm saying is then transparency is utmostly important.
The thing about administration and their relationship to students. So I have found, especially being on student leadership this year and last year, is having a lot more interaction with Dr. Jones, is he's a wonderful speaker, but everyone thinks he's got all the answers. He doesn't always have all the answers. I mean, it's not his job to have all the answers, but he can really speak. And when an issue comes up, he's really good at communicating only what he wants to, but making us feel like we've gotten the whole picture until much, much later.
Yes, so well, to add to that, an administration is a clockwork machine, so you can't pinpoint one cog and say that they're responsible for everything.
I was in a leadership dinner way back at the beginning of this year. This year? Yeah, I guess it was this year. It was like August or... No, it might have been as early as
whenever
last year.
It was.
It was like last semester, this semester, whatever. All the student leaders got together with Dr. Jones, and it was a question and answer time. And we talked a lot about humanizing the administration. It's not just some algorithm. It's not just a bunch of machines and robotic people working in there. It's actual people. And I'd love to believe that. I'd love to get to know some of the administration people. Every time I walk into that building, I don't recognize any of the names. There's a new name every time I walk in there, which is about like every week. And there's just some new name I've never heard before. But anyway, there was a question that was like, how do you view the administration's relationship to the students? Like, how do you think the students see administration? And Dr. Jones literally said, "Oh, I wouldn't know that. You are better off answering that than I am." And I think what he was trying to say was, come to your own conclusions. You're smart enough to answer your own questions, but that's not what he said, though.
No,
that's what he
I would
meant,
have to disagree. from my perspective, that kind of wording,
Right.
there's no way you cannot take that as a sort of subversive, sly evasion of the problem.
Right.
That's just flipping it back around and kind of saying, like, probing the student body for, and I'm not going to fault him for it necessarily. I
Right.
think it's a tactful move on his part, but what it
Very.
shows is that the administration actually is somewhat out of touch. And I'm not going to necessarily blame them for that. Like, if it is, it is. But the thing is, when you have an issue, you work to better it. You don't just sit there and refuse to acknowledge it and make it worse. You've got to deal with it. So, all of that being said, it's not helping matters for them in a sort of crisis, a financial crisis like this, to withhold significant information that we're going to find out anyway. And one thing I wanted to go back to with the email sent out first about the layoffs that bothered me was, okay, so I was kind of in a frenzy trying to figure out what happens to the class I had that no longer has a professor now. Well, somebody was kind enough on the Facebook page. Well, initially, this all started from a girl posting the email and saying that there was no prayer in consideration, and that's her belief, you know.
Right.
I'm not going to take sides on that, but many people chimed in. But one of the people who chimed in the comments section was helpful enough to list the professors laid off because they had that information.
Right.
And I found that very helpful. So later, when I was preparing to go back to school, I was looking for that comment again to make sure and certain that I knew that I had a class with a professor who had been laid off. I couldn't find that again. This is on the CIU gathering page, and it was no longer there. And that bothers me because I don't care whether you agreed or not with the initial girl who was posting. That's censorship in that it had been removed. I searched thoroughly many times for it and found nothing. So that tells me it was removed, and that bothers me. Why did they have a problem with somebody saying that or questioning? That just seems like an administration that's scared that somebody should accuse them of something. And anytime an administration has grown to the point where they want to prohibit the questioning of their actions, I would say that we're not in a healthy area.
Right. We could pick apart that. I picked apart that email that talked about the professors being laid off. Of Dr. Jones's great public speaking skills at work, talking about, we hired this many budget officers. There's a budget plan in place. It's going to affect the whole campus. I mean, I'm not going to go read the whole email now. You guys who got it can read it if you want to.
If you didn't already delete it.
If you didn't already delete it from your trash, permanently deleted it. I certainly didn't. I actually emailed Dr. Jones right after that and said, what is this budget plan you speak of? How is this going to affect the campus? Because I'm like, is this going to make tuition shoot up? And he said, great question. Ultimately, it will decrease the rate of growth in tuition. I mean, that doesn't mean tuition's going to stop growing. It just means it won't grow as fast as it is now. Well, and then, not only that, but right after that, or actually, it was just before that. To be fair. I was talking with someone here on campus in the library in May, and he said, I was going to live in the dorms next semester, but I went online and saw that room and board was up $1,000 a semester. And they didn't tell anybody.
Well, two things to chime in there as far as little ways that CIU seems to be price gouging. And, that sounds harsh to call it that, but let's just face it. These little things add up. So adding, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 50 extra RAM bucks a semester.
Oh, okay. So they sent out that email.
Well,
I was
not
really
just that.
mad about that because they said
we can talk about it, but I want to get these things before I forget. There's that, and another thing that I found kind of annoying because it sounds really insignificant at first. A 2% convenience fee on paying your tuition with a credit card sounds really insignificant at first, but when you realize that your tuition is thousands of dollars, all of a sudden 2%, that's like 200 extra bucks per student if you want to pay rather than walk in yourself to pay. So now, rather than paying from home like I used to, I've got to go into the Fine Aid office.
It's like,
and by the way, they only
things.
have like one person working there anymore, so there's a long line. You go in and you've got to pay in person now, just because you don't want to pay them $200 for a convenience
fee. It's just these little things. They keep adding up. And it's they think we don't see them. And they think that just saying, we hired 20 budget officers. Do we even have 20 budget officers on campus? We hired 20 budget officers to help with our problem.
They think we don't see them.
And it's do they expect all the students just, okay, well, that's a good enough answer. I'm going, where did they get these budget officers? What are they talking about?
Well, I don't know who's doing what, but I'm just like, do they think we don't get this? They think sending out an email saying, "Yay, Rambucks!"
Okay, that's
not going to work.
I
We're
almost
college
threw my
students.
phone across the freaking room when I heard that. When I read that email, I almost threw my phone across.
Yeah,
the
it's
room
not.
'cause
We're giving you
"What's in
50
your
extra
wallet?"
ones.
It's like a picture of someone opening their wallet. There's like little ram's heads
No.
coming out. It's like, "What's in your wallet? 50 more Rambucks."
It's like,
That's
okay,
what- have
let's
a
just
part-
stop.
it's time
Let's
to
just
party.
stop and have a basic economics lesson. When the government tells you you get extra money, we're giving you extra money. No, they're not. That's your tax money. Okay, it
I
doesn't
get free
work
money
that
in the mail.
way.
Woo! Oh wait,
CIU is
it's
no,
my
yeah,
money.
CIU is no different. Tax returns. That was your
And
money to begin with.
My question is, and this goes back even to the beginning of what we were talking about with the different channels and different allocations of money, is like, why is it that when the Ramshack started in 2014, we had to pay $100 to keep it up and running? So everyone paid $100 so that it wouldn't like go out of business right away, right? Brand new store, I get that. 2015 and 2016, still we're paying $100. Got to make sure it's up and running. It's doing pretty well though, because people will spend all the Rambucks in like a month, and then they'll start spending their own money. So it's doing a pretty good business, I must say. And all their stuff is so affordable. They're doing a pretty good business in there. And then this year, now that it's really firmly established, we're paying $50 more. And so now I'm kind of wondering, like, where is that go? Is that all
I'd like
going
to
to the
know where it's
Ramshack?
going. Like, I could be
Is it
entirely
all going to the
wrong
Ramshack? I mean, yeah, we could
about
be wrong.
where that's going, but again, I go back to the main
And
issue of transparency.
I hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I hope it's just all going to the Ramshack. I mean, I hope it's not because the Ramshack's not doing a good business, but I hope it's all going to the Ramshack and not somewhere else because I thought that, you have to put money in certain channels and stuff.
And hint, hint, we'll get to that later, but where we think it might be going.
All right, we're going to take a little break from the issues for a minute because there are plenty of those to talk about. We're going to feature a song on the podcast. We're going to try and do that every episode that we put out. We like to pimp out the littler guys who are trying to make their way into the music industry. And being a music major myself, this is dear to my heart, especially the Christian music industry. That's right, we are showcasing the very best of the up-and-comers. Today's song is from a guy called Chrisius Tomlinovitch. Thanks for sending us your stuff. It says, note, please do not call me Chris for short. Don't know why he said that. But this is a song called 10,000 Nothings, and I'm really looking forward to it. So let's give this one a listen.
Oh, I know I can sing. Oh, I can sing. My voice is as rich as gold. And you're all blessed by me. Oh, my voice, my singing will never get old. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to hear my voice again. I wrote this song, it makes me sound amazing. Let's all admit my voice is a godsend. Oh, I know I can sing. Oh, I can sing. My voice is as rich as gold. And you're all blessed by me. Oh, my voice, my singing will never get old. I'm rich in skill and I'm slow to mess up. My writing's good and my voice is more. I've been told that I should just stop singing. 10,000 insults for me to ignore. 'Cause I know I can sing. Oh, I can sing. My voice is as rich as gold. And you're all blessed by me. Oh, my voice, my singing will never get old. And on that day when I'm old and tired, and I I can't use my voice no more. Wait, just kidding, that will never happen. I'll sing 10,000 years off and a million more. I know I can sing, oh, I can sing. My voice is as rich as gold, and you're all blessed by me. Oh, my voice, my singing will never get old. Oh, my singing will never get old. Oh, my singing will never get old. That was a good song. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
He really can sing really well. I didn't hear one single mistake in the entire song.
No mistakes and genius composing.
Oh yeah,
creativity
it was great.
Off.
That part where you said, "When I can't use my voice no more," that was English majors rejoice.
Creativity was off the charts. I mean, that is the maximization of God's given gift to him right there. You know,
Absolutely.
He could not have done any better.
Anyway, definitely be willing to feature a song on the podcast from him again. All right, let's move on to our next issue now, and it is...
Let's talk about the library, for instance, because I think we've both had some issues with this in the past semester.
Yeah.
Likely we'll have more issues with it this semester.
This is our next issue here.
So let's just begin with the fact that at CIU, everybody's a Bible major, meaning everybody has to take Herm and 2 exegeticals, an Old Testament and a New Testament. So here's the thing, with E&Es, or Herm is also exegetical in nature, with anything exegetical, there are special books that you need. There's a problem here because I've noticed when going to do assignments that you need a specific book.
Oh my gosh.
And it will be gone in a heartbeat. I have literally gone as soon as the library opened. I'm talking like 3 minutes after it opened. And the books are gone off the shelf.
Because they have like 2 or 3 copies and they just never get more.
Now I want to talk, why are we talking about that? It relates back to finances, okay?
Yeah.
Books cost money. But compared to like larger school expenses, even if a book's $100, that's a like drop in the bucket here of total finances. When the school's paying for a whole house to go to Outback, I'm pretty sure they can afford some more books.
What we're referring to, for those of you guys who
I think we said it before, but
it was a Battle of the Houses. It was like a spare contest. But it used to be, for those who are new this year, Battle of the Halls. And so one hall won Outback Steakhouse. This year, because of the House Initiative, it was an entire house back in the fall of 2016. It was an entire house, which is 2 or 3 halls. So 3 times the amount of people going to Outback. And a house with 3 halls. One, it actually happened to be our house. I mean,
whatever.
Who am I kidding? We didn't do anything to help. But our house won the Outback Steakhouse. So it's a steakhouse. I mean, Outback is, it's not Cowboy Steakhouse downtown, but it's a steakhouse, all right? It's not cheap.
It's an upper restaurant. Okay.
It's,
but that's besides the point.
3
okay,
halls.
like
3 halls. It's crazy.
Fancy restaurant, whatever. The point is, there was some significant chunk of change spent there.
Yeah.
And here's the other point. Books in the library, it's not an ongoing funded thing. You do it once and we're set.
Yeah.
Here's my problem. Many essential books, there's only 1 copy of them. And these are books listed in the syllabus or listed in the assignment handouts given by professors that this is the book to use. Now, I would also add that many professors have, said, well, but there's multiple books you could use to do this assignment. But there's a catch. They can say that all day long. But they, to their credit, are well-versed in, Hebrew and Greek, and that's great for them. We're not. So many of these books, for instance, word studies, every student who goes through CIU, if you don't know what that is, you will come to learn what it is.
Oh, you will know.
Many of them, you need to have books that are ordered according to the special numbering system that goes along with words. For word studies, these Hebrew and Greek words. Many of these books, they don't have the numbering system. You have to know how to read Hebrew and Greek to be able to utilize them, meaning out of 4 different options you may have to do a particular assignment, only 2 might actually be usable by you. And that means that when you go into the library, somebody's going to be using them. Because most students, myself included, we go and we camp out, 3-4 hours, however long it takes, we just burn through an assignment. That means for that entire duration, we've got that book under lockdown.
Yeah.
Sitting on a table.
And people will come in, and it's distracting.
Yeah, that happened to you.
People come in to the room where I'm studying with a book. Hey, are you done with that book yet? No, I got a room so I could be by myself, and now you're distracting me. You're, like, impeding my work, which is just going to make the book sit here longer. And then they'll, like, come in and, like, sit there and be like, just let me know when you're done. I'm like, no.
And on the flip side, I
love that book. So
I hate, I'm sort of socially awkward myself, so I'm gonna hate going up to people and asking them if they have this book and if I can bother them.
Because
it comes
I don't
across
want to
as
feel like
rude.
a jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude.
Therefore, it's just this massive problem. So all of this to say, it creates a lot of stress when you're looking for this book. And you can say, oh, do the assignment, a month before it's due. But come on, we're college students, okay? Procrastination is the name of the game. So, of course, you're not going to start on this until a few weeks before it's due. And then everybody's in there doing it. But it's not that major of an issue if we can just buy multiple copies. Do whatever it takes. Because, like we said earlier, there's all kinds of different things like painting a building or something. Like, funds can be allocated to this, but nobody's doing it. And I happen to know for a fact we aren't the only ones who feel this way. I know that letters have been written to the administration about this, and nothing is done. They just don't care to do anything about it. So I can think of one professor in particular that, because of the shortage of books, lent some of his own copies to the library on reserve at the desk for his students in that class that asked for that book.
His own personal books?
Yes. His own personal copy. He added one.
Why is that necessary?
He knew the library already had one, but he was like, since that's obviously not going to be enough, I'm giving my own copy to the library for the duration of this assignment.
Why does this have to be necessary?
I believe with how much our tuition costs and everything, there are other things to sacrifice rather than professors.
As far as the professors go, I learned that it was a big, long, complicated thing where, that's a section that the school always gets flagged on in financial aid from the government, and if they lose their
what is a
financial backing, the professors, there's always a shortage of finances in that area. So if they didn't lay off professors, then we would very likely have lost accreditation, and then the school, being as small as it is, would just plummet because we get no money from the government anymore, blah, blah, blah.
So obviously, there's some larger issues at work here. But
it's not just like, CIU's so cold-hearted, although they could have picked a few better professors to lay off, in my opinion. I don't know. We don't know everything about this. But as far as books go, can we not handle books? Can we not handle...
And I have another wonderful idea here, too. I don't know about the legalities of such, but I know that it's done often enough on a regular enough basis that it would seem plausible to simply upload the required resources online. And
that might cost money to get the rights,
but
might. Not as much as getting the entire book.
But let me add that the school already funds to get us that, is it NABSCO or whatever?
Yeah.
The online the online databases. Here's my
problem. Does that cost money?
Yes, I've heard that it does. I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe it does.
That would make sense.
Here's the thing. For English courses, to do your research, there is a plethora of online resources, more than you can ever need or read. They're out there. But when it comes to Bible, a concordance, to do a word study, why... Surely there's one online somewhere that CIU could fund and get us access to. If there isn't,
true.
We have professors that I'm sure are smart enough that they could probably... Okay, I'm not saying a professor could write one on his own. That's probably an exaggeration, and I don't know what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, I feel like the necessary resources could be found and put online with enough effort and enough funds put into them.
We're trying to make everything digital now anyway.
So, that way everybody can have it. Scan them, upload them online, do something.
If we can afford, iPads in the library just for searching books... Oh, we just have 15 iPads for that. No big deal. Can we not?
It's not 15, but I get your point.
Whatever,
yeah. An iPad
the
is surely
royalties
worth,
or whatever it is to get a Bible library up there so we can get our books that we need, or buy the e-books or whatever. Can we not have a Kindle account for one class? that just like gets a budget for these books?
I mean,
ebooks?
I've actually gone a semester at a school that was very tech heavy and pushing that. They gave everybody free iPads just for enrolling. You know, I've seen it better utilized.
I almost enrolled there. I should have just done it.
No.
I should have just done it. I could have made it.
Trust me, it's not worth it.
I want an iPad for enrolling at a school.
It's not worth it. I'm not going to name the school, but don't go there. But the point being is, I got to see
Come here, where you don't even get a free Bible for
I got to see their program for the utilization of technology and integrating, you know, the iPads and everything. First of all, let's just be fair that iPad came straight out of students' tuition, but you understood it. Well, they say it's free, but you understood that in signing up there, that's part of it. Here, I'm going to get an iPad that I'm going to be allowed to use in the classroom, and they're going to help me figure out how to, you know, they're going to give me ways to utilize it.
Now take CIU where when you sign up for classes here, you don't get a free iPad, you get something better. You get $150 worth of candy and CIU apparel.
That too, because like for myself personally,
what a school.
I can't even partake of the food items in the Ram Shack, so I end up every semester needing to like.
Josh
I can't count how many
special diet.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that, but you know, it is what it is, and I can't utilize it. But I'm not given the option to opt out of having Ram bucks, which are paid out of my tuition, obviously. So every semester I have to go buy clothing and everything. But back to what I was saying, though, here at CIU, like with technology and implementation of it at CIU, you don't get a free iPad, as in you paid for it, but the iPad you paid for isn't one that you get to keep for your own personal use. It's an iPad on a stand in the library that's used purely to look things up.
That's true.
So,
I didn't even think about that.
And yes, I get it. That's just like, you know, 3 or 4 compared to giving every student one. But the whole point being,
not 15.
Funds can be allocated better. You know, how would it be if every student has an iPad and the school has funded an online database of all the Bible resources? See, we have this plethora of English resources, but not everybody's an English major. Right. Everybody here is a Bible major. Everybody's going to need these books at some point.
Like, it's great for the English majors. It's great. I don't want to take that away from them, but you should probably focus on what the majority of students need first.
Yes. So, anyway, all of that to say that this is just one example of an area where we feel what's going on here. Why are certain things funded that we never asked to be funded or have? Like, sure, they're fun, but shouldn't your professors who are responsible, like you can't have academics without good professors. Shouldn't preserving your good professors and having access to good resources, shouldn't these things be fundamental above the fun stuff or the other things? And I get it, like who wants to go to a boring school, but we can't have a school without professors and resources. So ultimately, all we're asking for is, you know, where's the transparency, CIU?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Transparency would be so nice. It's not our business as students and everything, but with as much as you've told us with withholding details, we could probably stand to know about that stuff.
Well, I would argue that, no, I'm not going to personally buy the whole, it's none of your business thing, because when you're paying as much money as we are paying to a school, I mean, this is why people, you know, it's your alma mater, why people become a part of the family at a university, okay? Like, you're a part of this. You're investing in it. You don't just go to a place just to get your education. Like, you know, you're investing in this school to grow it, to see it become something, and to be an active part of it. And if all of that's true, then you have a right to know what's going on.
It's true. It's true.
At least
and
that's
none
my
of my
belief.
business. I meant like legal stuff. But when you send out an email, it's like professors got laid off. Well, who? Well, you don't need to know that. It's none of your business. Really? Or we hired 20 budget officers that I don't even know. I don't even think we have 20 people in the administration building here, let alone budget officers of our own. So did you hire them? I don't know. It's not my business to know. We have a budget plan in place, or we don't have enough books for you. Well, what's that budget plan look like? Why are there not enough books? Well, leave that to us. I don't know. And that's why we're making a podcast. Because we're two grumpy old men who want to start a conversation. Let's just go to the credits. You have been listening to Bursting the Bubble, hosted by Michael Lanier and Josh Chapman. Bursting the Bubble was created by Michael Lanier. This episode was very poorly edited and produced by Michael Lanier. Our theme song was the Columbia Bible College Alma Mater, composed by Evangeline Kimber, arranged and performed by Michael Lanier. Our song in the middle was 10,000 Nothings by Chrisius Tomlinovitch. By his courtesy, we have lyrics available if you would like them. Thank you, Mr. Tomlinovitch.
Tomlinovitch. And he reminds us all again, please don't call him Chris for short, and don't shorten his last name to anything like, I don't know, Tomlin, or anything crazy like that. Would you like to get in contact with Bursting the Bubble? Would you like to be on the show? Anyone who is involved with CIU in any way, whether that be student, faculty, staff, alum, or other, is eligible to be on the show. Or if you just want to send us some mail or a letter or whatever, please email us at chainsawsinchapel@gmail.com. No, that's actually our real email address, chainsawsinchapel@gmail.com. Try it. I'm telling the truth. Or, preferably, if you want to send us a paper letter, please send it to Box 549. That's Campus Box 549. Please remember that Bursting the Bubble does not necessarily reflect any views or policies that CIU holds or believes. And Bursting the Bubble is in no way officially associated with Columbia International University. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.